Hi Chris, lovely to meet up with you and start doing some work on your game. Just a quick recap to summarise the key points that we discussed during your visit. Initially with the swing, the first thing we talked about was when viewed from down the line, we want to reduce the amount of twisting of the club. So we have a club that opens too much to the arc of the swing rather than staying squarer to the arc of the swing, particularly in the early part of the swing. At this point, because of the flexing of the right arm, because of the rotation of the left arm, to get the swing to continue, there will be a slight loading, if you will, of the back of the left hand. So whatever the back of the left hand does, the club face does, etc., etc. So there will be a loading, but it happens at a much lesser rate and much later in the swing than what you were demonstrating upon your visit. So with Charlie, there's much less twisting of the shaft and there's much less lifting of the arms. And we discussed the problems that we've got when we lift the arms so much. We're either going to drop the club under this way, which can be overdone. If it's done too much, that's when you're trapped, blocks and hooks. If you stay in that position and you just come straight down from where you are there now, the arm's going to be too much out in front of you. The club is going to be too much above the playing line, coming in quite steep and working across the ball. So you've got to time that move back down onto plane perfectly, whilst also trying to control where the golf ball's going. And that's not the most efficient move, and it introduces quite a lot of chaos to the proceedings. So, excuse me, from down the line, the gist of the lesson was to reduce the twisting and reduce the lifting. We talked about some other things from face on. I'll show you a comparison of that towards the end. So the first thing we did was we introduced the idea of keeping the arms a little bit lower. This is just a progression during your lesson. I've got the shaft at 90 degrees to your bend forward at address, and I'm asking you to keep your arms beneath that cane. You can see if initially when you start doing this, the roll increases, the lift decreases, but the roll has increased. Previously, when the arms have worked up too fast, the only way you can get the club behind you is by rolling the back of the left hand. Now the arms are coming in more. There's no need to roll the club. It's just something that you're familiar with, so that's something that you tend to do. We then start to talk about keeping the club beneath the plane, and again trying to twist less. A little bit of lifting on those shots with subsequent problems. Now we're trying to get this idea of not letting the club roll behind us quite as quick. So there's your there's the rehearsal move that you make. You're trying to introduce a little bit of a Ricky Fowler move, if you will, which is the exact opposite of the move you were demonstrating at the start of the session. You can see how when the club is rotated less, yeah, that's excessive, but you get the idea. When it's rotated less, the arms stay in more, the shoulders work on a different angle, the hands work in more, etc., etc. So on this swing, we're now starting to get the idea of lifting less as we approach the top of the backswing. We're starting to see the gap between the right arm and the torso reduce, the left arm not sitting as high, shoulders working on a slightly more tilted angle. So some good things being introduced at this point, and it's just a case of refining this. We can come straight back down plane now, whereas on the right hand image we've got to reroute. We don't reroute enough on that one. The shaft sits very high, whereas on the left it's shallowing out much more. Now it's just an attempt to get the club back on the inside, whereas the club is coming from the inside in a much more efficient manner now. The right heel's not lifting as much, the head's not twisting back towards the camera quite as much, and the move into the ball can start to quieten down. There's still some things in there that you do because of the swing that you're making for quite a long period of time, but it's starting to show some signs. So at this stage, much less twisting, much less lifting, etc. And then what we did then was we introduced the sort of final refinement to the drill. We've got the cane here underneath the right arm. The cane is designed to, first of all, allow you to keep or be aware of the arms staying on the torso throughout the backswing, throughout the complete swing in this instance, and also to prevent that left arm from getting a little bit too lifted as you complete. So it's a two-way thing. The idea is to squeeze the cane beneath the right arm and keep it there throughout the swing. The cues during the swing are less lifting and less twisting. This is possibly one of the best transformations of a backswing I've seen in a 2-hour period for quite some while. You can see a completely different position when the shaft's parallel with the ground on the backswing. We just run this through now. Hands in, club out. Club sets completely differently because of the conditions of the elbows at that point. We talked about how in your initial swing, the left elbow at this point is actually sitting on top of the right, so it's above the right slightly, whereas now the right is considerably above the left. So the condition in the elbows has changed, which means you can use the wrist differently during the swing. Far less lifting as you approach the top of the backswing. Things looking much more compact, much more under control. From there now we can just come straight back down that yellow line. You can see a massive difference in the positioning of the club when the left arm's parallel with the floor. In the downswing, arms are in much more. Club getting back onto the lower line in an efficient manner. Movement into the ball considerably easier to control. We're starting to see the right heel lift less. We're starting to see the body contort less, if you will. So massive improvement down the line. It's going to take both swings back to the top. Get rid of the lines so that you can just see the swing itself. It's a huge improvement. Very efficient looking action on the left, not so on the right. So now when we look at it from face on, number of key changes. We talked about the positioning of the feet, try and turn the feet out more, keep the weight forward a little bit more. This is towards the end of your session. There you go, you can get those feet turned out. I'm asking you to sort of humour me there, and I'm asking you to turn the feet out as much as you can to get the weight as far forward as you can. You look at the difference between those two setups, you know, which one looks more athletic, which one looks more balanced, which one looks more powerful. The one on the left is you trying to maintain the flex in the right knee, create some resistance, left knee moving in a lot, arms lifting a lot. Here obviously we're working on less twisting, less lifting. See, that's the sort of the feel you're trying to create with that pre-shot waggle. When it comes to hitting the shot, much the same. Massive difference between those two. You can see the leg actions become more stable. The shoulders are turning further. You've got a greater turn with less arm swing, and that's always going to bode well in regards to consistency. In regards to the rest of the swing, the downswing will start to find its own way, if you will. There is a tidying up process already underway. You can see that with a few of your shots towards the end. The move into the golf ball is starting to change, start to look a little bit more organised. hitting more shots from the top of the backswing position that you've achieved on the right hand side here is going to require you to have a completely different chain of movements from the top. The only way you're going to learn those movements is to continuously hit that point during the backswing. So using the cane during the drills, during the practice sessions is essential. Keep sticking to the process. Have a chat with Ben, he'll tell you all about that. The more you stick to the process, the more other things start to fall into place, and that's the basis for a good conversation when we meet next. Good luck with it. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact me, and if you ever want a forward video in between sessions, feel free to do that also. Well done.